Shabbat, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Daled. This is going to be a very long Mishnah. It's actually very short, but the explanation is going to be very long, but it's not hard. Okay? Ve'elu, and these. What are these? Hahalachot nizkarot lemala. All the laws that we mentioned above in the previous Mishnah, in Mishnah Gimel, for example, lo yaflet kelav velo yikra leor haner. All these fences, all these decrees that the rabbi says, you shouldn't take out lights from your clothing and you shouldn't do it by the light of the candle. Maybe you're going to come to tilt the candle. We're worried. Maybe you're going to come to tilt the candle. You want to look good. You want a bigger flame. You automatically, you won't even think about it. You're going to press it, and then it's all over, right? So it says, where did these decrees happen? So they're going to tell you where they happened. Very interesting story. Hem מן ההלכות שאמרו בעליית חנניה ben חזקיה. This is from the laws that they said in the ethic of Hananiah, the son of Chizkiah, ben Gurion, the son of Gurion. כשעלו לבקרו, when they went out to visit him. חנניה ben חזקיה היה גדול בדורו. Hananiah ben Chizkiah was the leader of the generation. He was the rabbi, he was the leader of the generation. וכשביקשו חכמי דורו לגנוז ספר יחזקאל, when the sages wanted to take away the book of Yechezkel, they wanted to remove it from the holy books. They says this book of Yechezkel is very problematic. There's many problematic verses in the book. We don't want it. It looks like it goes against the Torah in many places. So the sages says we're going to take a vote. They were trying to take the book out so that it's not going to be included within the holy writings, the book of Yechezkel. מאחר שמצאו בו דברים הנראים כסותרים דברי תורה, because they found in it things that look like they go against Torah. So what did he do? נתייחד חנניה בן חזקיה בעלייתו. He closed himself in his attic, וחיבר פירוש לספר יחזקאל. And he explained all those problematic verses in the book of Yechezkel. And we're going to see the verses are really problematic. And he had to explain them. וזהו שאמרו בגמרא, and this is, the Gemara says, ברם, it says, the Gemara, it says, זכור אותו האיש לטוב, it says, remember that man for good. Which man remember for good? וחנניה בן חזקיה שמו. His name was Hananiah ben Chizkiah. Why do you have to remember?
למה חנניה בן חזקיה? לא בן גוריון?
No, it's Hananiah ben Chizkiah ben Gurion.
Oh.
Three generations.
Oh, 3 generations.
Hananiah ben Chizkiah shmo. Yeah. His name was Hananiah ben Chizkiah. שאלמלא הוא נגנז ספר יחזקאל, because without of him, today nobody would have the book of Yechezkel. We would have kicked it out of our things. Yeah, he explained it. We're going to see. שהיו דבריו סותרים דברי תורה. Because the words in Sefer Yechezkel were against the words of the Torah. And he had to explain them. How they're not against the Torah. How? כגון, and he gives an example. In Yechezkel mem daled lamed aleph, in Yechezkel mem daled lamed aleph, it says, there's a verse that says, nevela utrefa lo yochlu hakohanim. It says, the Kohanim should not eat nevela utrefa, all animals which have not been slaughtered properly. So immediately he says, what do you mean Kohanim lo yochlu? Ve'Israelim are allowed to eat them? And regular Jews are allowed to eat them? You see, the Torah is very exact. If it says okay, Jews should not eat, and that means all Jews. But if you just specify only Kohanim are not allowed to eat,
you got a problem with Israel.
And now Israel are allowed to eat? אבל ישראלים אוכלים? But regular Jews who are not Kohanim are allowed to eat? What kind of a verse is this? וכגון, and for example, another example, וכן תעשה בשבעה בחודש. There's a verse in Yechezkel, and so you should do in the 7th in the month. I'm not quite sure what it refers to, but that's what it says. It looks like in Yechezkel you were supposed to bring a sacrifice or supposed to do something on the 7th of the month of something that he said. Maybe he was talking about Shavuot. I'm not quite sure what he was talking about. Yeah? So he says, "Echan nirmaz korban ze b'Torah." And in the Torah, it's never mentioned that one has to bring a sacrifice on the 7th of the month. I think Shavuot is 50 days after. I don't care which month it is.
No?
Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it can be 7. But it's not. Why are you saying 7 of the month? That's the question. Not always we bring in on 7 of the month. So where are you coming from, Yechezkel? That's the idea. I'm not sure it is Shavuot, but whatever it is. So I say, Masa. So because of all these problematic verses in the book of Yechezkel, he realized that people are going to kick it out, and he knew that it was holy. So he says, I have to explain all these verses so that people are not going to kick the book out. Masa. העלו לו 300 גרבי שמן. They took out for him 300 גרבי שמן. I'm assuming it is oil. Yeah. Jars of oil. וישב בעלייה ודרשן. He had like many days. He had enough oil to sit over there for a whole year, for 2 years, for 3 years, for the light. He sat in the attic all day long, all night long, and that's what he was explaining all these things, researching it, finding out what it means and why it means. So now happened to be והיו באים החכמים לבקרו. So he had his project. He's been sitting in years in his attic. Everybody knows that he's trying to bring the book of Yechezkel to become holy. So the sages came to visit him once in a while. He was the leader of generation, like we said. And when they used to come and visit him, it wasn't just to visit him. All the sages used to come, and they used to have all sessions, discussions. How we going to learn this? How we going to learn that? So in these discussions, this is the discussion, וקובעים אז הלכות וגוזרים גזרות. That was the time they made the laws. They made all the decrees. So all the decrees that we are going to read in this Mishnayos that we read now came from that time that he was sitting in the attic by the book of Yechezkel, and the sages were coming around once in a while, and they were making meetings to decide which decrees we should have, which decrees we shouldn't have. Nimnu verabu Beit Shammai al Beit Hillel. There were more people There were more people at that time from the house of Shammai than the house of Hillel. Shenechleku Beit Shammai u Beit Hillel, because we know there's a lot of disagreements between the houses of Shammai and the house of Hillel. Uksham sham leminyan, and over there, when they took the voting, matz'u shebeit Shammai emarov. They found out at that time that the house of Shammai were the majority. ונקבעה הלכה למעשה כמותם, and the halacha was found like them. And ו18 דברים גזרו בו ביום. And there were 18 things that were established on that day. So these are we're going to read now, all the 18 things that were established. We're just going to go through them quick, because all the things we're going to go through them once we get there. There's no point in explaining everything now, but we're just going to mention them. So what are the things that they decreed in that day? כמפורט בגמרא, like it's explained in the Gemara, תשעה דברים הפוסלים את התרומה. So the first thing, they said, we're going to make truma not good. 9 things that are going to make the truma pasul, the truma not befitting to be eaten. Now, we already know that there are some things that pasul the truma, that are making the truma pasul, and then you have to burn it, because nobody's allowed to eat it. These things, you can't burn it. What are you allowed to do it? We'll see later on.
This truma you can burn?
Yeah, because it's not from the Torah. It's not pasul from the Torah. It's only pasul from the rabbis. You might have to leave it until it rots. I don't remember exactly. You remember we were discussing it. Yeah, but it means the rabbis said it's pasul, not the Torah says it's pasul. So they decreed. Let's see what they are. Ha'ochel ochel shehu rishon letuma. Again, we never dealt with tuma and tahara, purity and impurity yet. We're going to get to purity and impurity. There's first to impurity, second to impurity, third to impurity. For example, first to impurity, someone who has touched the dead. Second to impurity, someone who touched that somebody. Third to impurity, Does impurity comes to vessels, come to clothing, comes to houses, all these comes, there's levels of tuma. So it says a person who is in the status of first to tuma, ha'ochel ochel shu rishon l'tuma, if one eats food that is first to tuma and then touches the truma,
Truma is no good.
Truma is no good. The Torah says, don't worry about it. The Chachamim says, Truma is no good. Ha'ochel ochel shu sheni l'tuma. Also, if one eats a food that is second to tuma, second level of tuma, the food is. Ha'shoteh mashkim tmeim. Third, somebody who drinks water or any kind of liquids which is not pure. Kol echad me'elu, all of these three people who they ate something which is first tuma or second tuma or food. Kol echad me'elu posel truma b'magao. Each one of them, if he touches truma, the truma is going to be pasul. Gzera shema yuchal truma be'od ha'ochlim or ha'mashkim atmeim bepiv. What are we worried about? He's not tameh. It's only the food that he touches is tameh.
But here he's talking about shoteh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it says, what's the problem? The problem is that if
he's tameh.
he's pure. He's pure to eating
Drink
truma.
tameh?
Yeah.
He's still pure?
He didn't. It goes from the inside. We
Okay.
discussed. We discussed. The person itself is pure. Yeah, the person itself remains pure. The problem that we are worried about is that he has a little bit of tuma in his mouth, and he's going to put now truma into his mouth, and he's going to metame the truma. He's going to make the truma tame. He is pure, but if he didn't finish eating everything, he still has something in his mouth. It's going to touch the truma, and to make truma tame is again. We're going to deal with it when we get to purity and impurity. And then another thing, הבא ראשו ורובו במים שאובים לאחר שטבל מטומאתו בו ביום. So this is an interesting thing. In those times, people used to go to the mikveh. There's not clean mikvehs like these days. Today the mikvehs are nice and they're clean, hopefully, But in those days, usually the mikvehs, there will be like caves and things. There will be running water, and it will be there. It will stay there. It will be stinky and and you will go out. So what will people do? It will be it look like a mud pit. It's completely like everybody goes in there all the time, and there's no filter. There's nothing. So you can imagine what it looks like after a couple of days of no rain, and people will go into these holes. And after they went into these holes, they will take a shower, or they would go into the river to wash themselves off. So they made a decree that haba rosho verobo b'mayim she'ovim, that if you went into a shower or a bath that are not kosher to be a mikveh, in other, you put a vessel and you cleaned yourself off, לאחר שטבל מטומאתו בו ביום, we're going to make you tameh. The washing makes you tameh. It says why? Because what will people do? People will go to the mikveh, the proper mikveh, which is dirty, and then they will get washed. And then they were afraid that people would think it's the clean water that purifies them and not the dirty water. So it says, if you wash yourself in clean water, now you tameh.
So don't learn to do this.
Don't learn to do that. That's right, because they were afraid that people are going to think it's the clean water that
make you tameh.
make that. So that's what he did. This is in Dalet. Hey, tahor gamur, says somebody who is pure, שנפלו עליו 3 לוגים מים שאובים, that fell on him a measurement of 3 lugs of drawn water, of water from a vessel. הטעם באלו, the reason for this, לפי שהיו טובלים, he explains, לפי שהיו טובלים בימי מערות סרוכים, they used to dip themselves, go to the mikveh in water of caves which were disgusting, והיו נותנים עליהם אחר כך מים שאובים, and then they would pour upon themselves drawn water, להעביר סירחון המים, to wash themselves off. וכיוון שעשום קבע, and since this is the way they always used to do it, התחילו לומר, they started to say, לא מי המערות מטהרים, it's not the mikveh that is going to make you pure, אלא המים השאובים מטהרים, it is the water from the vessel that makes you pure. So it says, oh, that's what they're thinking. Amdu ve'gazru aleim tum'ah. They say the old water that have been in a vessel, they are impure. שלא יבואו לבטל תורת מקווה ולטבול בשאובים, because otherwise people are going to start going to the mikveh in vessels which is from in water which comes from vessels. Next, הספרים של כתבי הקודש, the books, holy books, מגילת אסתר, ספר תורה, all the Megillot at the time, the books of the Torah at that time were separated. They were written on parchment. Sheken nohag. It says so. We're going to make all the Torahs, everything which is holy, Megillah, Torah, Mezuzah, impure. You touch a Torah, you become impure. So you say, what was that? Because people would keep their truma. It says truma is holy. I don't want to keep the truma together with my regular food, because this food is holy. I should remember that it's holy before I touch it. So I'm going to put it where? Next to I put it together with the holy things. Next to the mezuzah, next to the Sefer Torah, next to the holy thing. So they put it next to the holy thing, and then what came? The rats used to come, eat the food, and while eating the food, they also ate the Sefer Torah. So it says, we're going to make sure they're not going to do that, put food next to the Torah. So we're going to say, if you touch the Torah, it's Tameh. So that people are not going to put their truma over there. So let's read it inside. הספרים של כתבי הקודש, the holy books, שכן נוהגים היו להצניע אוכלים של תרומה אצל ספרי תורה. They used to put food of truma by the Sefer Torahs. הואיל ושניהם קודש, because they're both holy. They wanted to remember that this food is holy. והיו עכברים מצויים אצל האוכלים, מפסידים את הספרים, and the rats used to come, eat the food and eat the Sefer Torahs. הילקח גזרו שיהיו הספרים פוסלים את התורה במגעם. Therefore they decreed that the books is going to puzzle the truma as they touch them. זין, another thing, סתם ידיים פוסלות את התרומה. It says regular hands, if you touch the truma, they make it puzzle. What does it mean, regular hands? Hands that you didn't watch them, that you didn't watch after you washed them. In other words, you woke up in the morning, you washed your hands, you pure. You washed your hands, you still pure. Now you went around for 2 hours, you didn't notice what you were doing, your hands are not pure anymore. If you touch the truma now, it's not pure.
You don't know what you did, in a way.
That's right. If you don't remember where your hands have been for the last 2 hours, go wash them again before you eat truma. Why are you eating truma without washing them? Go washing them again, then. לפי שהידיים הסקניות הן ונוגעות במקומות מזוהמים. Because you didn't notice where you put your hands. You know, this guy scratches over here, that guy scratches over there, we don't know. Yeah? חטא. אוכלים שנטמעו במשקים, food that became tame with liquids, ואותם המשקים נטמעו מחמת סתם ידיים שנגעו בהם קודם נטילה. And those liquids became impure because of those regular hands that we just discussed right now, that you touched them before you washed your hands. שכל הדברים הפוסלים את התרומה, because everything that makes the truma not holy, puzzle, מטמאים את המשקים, they're going to make these liquids tame, impure, להיות ראשון לטומאה, to become first to טומאה. גזרה משום משקים שנטמעו משרץ. This is a decree because of liquids that became impure because of a sheretz, because of these creepy crawlies that we discussed before. Because sheretz makes rishon let'uma min Torah. And if you are used to using these liquids with your hands, and you say, my hands is impure, this is, I'm going to allow you, you're going to think that also if a sheretz touched the liquid and then went into the bread or whatever, it's also kosher. It will let you think that way. That's why we said everything is not kosher. והאוכלים שנטמעו במשקים הללו פוסלים את התרומה. And this food that touched this water make the truma impure. Not from the Torah, from the rabbis, obviously. ט' כלים שנטמעו במשקים, this is vessel that you put, that became impure through liquids, ואותם המשקים נטמעו בשרץ, and those liquids become impure with the sherets. Again, that's not the food itself. You're not eating the mashkim. It just this mashkim, these liquids, touch the vessel. So the vessel now is only second, but it says we're still going to have a problem. שאף על פי שהמשקים הם ראשון לטומאה, even though the liquids are first to impurity, מן התורה אינם מטמאים אדם וכלים. From the Torah, they shouldn't make this vessel impure, nor the person impure. That's why you remember we said in the beginning, שאין אדם וכלים מקבלים טומאה, because the rule is that a person or vessels do not receive טומאה from sherets.
Secondary, in a way.
From the sherets. In some things which are first they do, but over here they don't. אלא מאב הטומאה, they only will receive it from a dead person himself. This is called אב הטומאה. אבל חכמים גזרו עליהם שיטמאו כלים, but the sages made a decree that they're going to impurify the vessels. גזרה משום משקים של זב. This is a decree because liquids of a person who is a zav, who has an emanation. היינו רוקו וזובו ומי רגליו. All the liquids that come out of him, his saliva, his emanation, and his excrement. שהם אב הטומאה. That they are considered by a zav, they're considered אב הטומאה. And since the liquids from the zav is first and transfer, we're going to make everything transfer even if they don't transfer, because if you're going to allow you the other things, you're going to think that also by the zav it is allowed. That's the idea. ומטמאים כלים מן התורה, אלא הם תשעת הדברים הפסולים בתרומה. These are the 9 things that make impure in תרומה, השנויים במסכת זבים. When we get to מסכת זבים, we're going to learn all these things. ושאר תשעת הדברים שגזרו בהם, so that's 9, there's 9 more, because we said 18. What's the other 9? Number 1, בנות כותים מטמאות מהריסתן. That the daughters of non-Jews are impure from the time that they're babies. In other words, by us, when the girls become impure, they become impure from the time they have the first period, which is at the age of 11, in 12, whatever it is for a girl. But a child, there's not a problem with a child, but it says when it comes to non-Jews, immediately as they're born, they made a decree, כלומר, מיום שנולדו בטומאת נידה. They're already a nida from the beginning. It helps you not. All these things is to make sure we don't intermingle with them. Says you can't.
If you touch her,
that's right.
even little girl, you get.
For example, your wife has a neighbor. She's a very nice neighbor, but she's not Jewish. We don't want to hang out all the time, because the baby, you touch it, now you can eat truma. No. Stay away from me. I don't want to touch you. The whole idea is of
don't
all
touch
these
me
things.
and I don't touch you.
The whole idea is to separate the thing, since they don't keep. You see, in all these things. י' א', כל דבר שיש בהיקפו טפח מביא טומאת אוהל. Oh, this is another thing. There's laws of when there's a dead person inside the house, everything in the house becomes tame. Right. ואף על פי שמן התורה אין אוהל פחות מטפח. No. From the Torah, it's the tefach like this. Over here, we're going to use the ol hekef. We're going to count. Not just the cross. We're going to count even if it has tefach. In other words, if this is a tefach, I can make it this big, and it still be considered a tefach because I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of just 1 and 2.
Square.
So that's right. We're going to make it even more stringent. העילה למת, גזרו חכמים על כל מטלטלים שיש בהיקפם טפח. This is the decree by the sages of all object that there is the surrounding of it, that what's it called? The circumference, whatever, that around it is a measurement of tefach. שאם ראשם האחד העילה למת, that if one side of them went above the dead person, וראשם האחר על הכלים, and the other part of them went on vessels, מביאים להם טומאת אוהל. So in other words, the vessels becomes impure now. It's like it was in the house. and because it was under the, let's say this is the dead person, this is the kelim, and there's an object over here. So the object is on top of this, on top of the kelim now are not good, even though it needs a tefach. Over here it's smaller than a tefach, but around it he has a tefach. We're going to make it. גזירה משום דבר שיש בעוביו טפח שמביא את הטומאה מן התורה. Because there are some things, this is a decree, that if it has a tefach on it, it's going to bring the tumah from the Torah. In other words, they tell you, be careful in this. How are you going to be careful? You're going to make it much smaller so that you're not going to come to do it. Yud Bet, הבוצר ענבים לדרכם בגת, somebody who takes grapes to make from them wine, המשקה היוצא מהם מכשירם לקבל טומאה. The liquids that comes out of them makes them befitting to receive טומאה. ואף על פי שהמשקה זה הולך לאיבוד ולא ניחא לו, we have things, when a liquid touches food, we didn't learn this yet, yeah? But you remember when we said that the liquid touches food, afterwards this food can be received tuma. Yeah. You have the 7 liquids that if it touches food, only then this food can receive tuma. This is only in cases where it's naichale. What does it mean naichale? When you want it to happen. Oh. So if when you don't want it to happen, that's something else. If you didn't want it to happen, you're not looking for it. So that doesn't work. Over here, you don't want the grapes to become this liquid to touch the grapes. It's not good for you. Yeah, you want it out of the grapes. Right. You know.
You want it to hold.
Yeah. So not because of purity, just because of the process.
Oh.
Because this is the way they make the process. It's nothing to do with the purity over here. Yeah. That's not the process. It's not part of it. So it says, nevertheless, over here we're going to make it impure. ואין משקה מכשיר לקבל טומאה. A drink is not going to receive טומאה, אלא אם כן נייחה לבעלים שהמשקה יוצא. Only if the owners are enjoying it, that the liquid's coming out. מכל מקום גזרו כאן, over here they made a decree, שמא יבצור בקופות מזופפות, because maybe you're going to start pressing on the wine and the liquids are not going to go on the ground. In other words, over here you don't care about the liquid. It says, let them go to waste. I just want the grapes. I'm using the grapes for something. But he says, but we're worried because maybe somebody's going to come put some baskets over there because he wants the grapes. וכיוון שאין המשקה הולך לאיבוד, and then the drink is not going to go to get destroyed, ניחלה, he does get enjoyment out of it, הוא מכשיר מן התורה, and he's going to make kosher from the Torah. He's going to make it kosher to receive tuma from the Torah. Yud Gimel, גידולי תרומה. It says, things that grew from truma. In other words, a seed that was truma that I put in the ground is going to become truma, even though from the Torah we learned it is not truma. ואפילו בדבר שזרעו קלה, even in something that the zera is gone. גזירה משום תרומה טמאה שביד כהן. This is a decree because maybe there's a impure truma in the hand of the Kohen. שמא ישהנה אצלו עד זמן זריעה. Maybe he's going to, in other words, we want the Kohen to destroy it, not to remain by him, because I'll remain it, I'll reseed it for next year. You know, I'll reseed my field with wheat for the next year, and then he's got unpure truma in his hand. Who knows? He might, his son, his daughter might not know, go and come and eat it. So we don't want it to happen. ויבוא לידי תקלה שיוכלנו בתולם. He's going to forget, or whatever is going to happen, he's going to come with טומאה. י"ד, another one, מי שהחשיך לו בדרך, somebody that was walking Friday night, became dark, נותן כיסו לנוכרי. So now he has 2 options. From the Torah, if you are in the wild, let's say in the desert, and you're walking in the desert, and Friday night comes, it says you're allowed to still carry your stuff for less than 4 amos. In other words, you make 1 step, you stop, you take another step, you stop. You have to have a measurement of stop in every 4 amos that you walk, and then you can walk during Shabbat. This is the way they allow you to walk during Shabbat. But it says that's one option. It says the better option is, and this is what they make the decree, we're not going to allow you to do that anymore. the Rebbe's days.
Can walk.
You can't start walking 4 amos. What should you do? You should give your money to the nanju. There's a nanju next to you. This is preferable. Give him the money, give him the things, and let him carry it. Says it's better that he carries it than you. כי מי שיחשיך לו בדרך, somebody who becomes נותן כיסו לנוכרי, he gives his wallet to a nanju, ולא יטלטלנה פחות מ-400. You should not carry it less than 400. כמבואר בתחילת הפרק האחרון מהסחתנו. Like we're going to learn it in the end of this chapter, in the end of the Mishnah. ט"ו, אין פולין לאור הנר. This is what we learned in Mishnah Gimel. You don't take the lice out by the light of the candle. ואין קוראים לאור הנר. Again, what we learned in the Mishnah. You don't read by the light of the candle. And י' זין. פיתם ושמנם וימנם ובנותיהם של גויים אסורים. The bread and the oil and the wine and the daughters of non-Jews are all prohibited. Again, from what's the idea? You're going to, there's a bakery in the town, and who walks in the bakery? The daughter of the thing. And she winks at you and she smiles at you. Hey, Mr. Zeo, how you doing today? And she smiles. We don't want it to happen. Don't buy bread over there. אסורים. וכל אלו גזרה אחת היא. All this is one decree. שכן אמרו, גזרו על פיתם משום שמנם. It says, why bread is not allowed? Because of the oil. ועל שמנה משום ינם. What is the oil is not allowed? Because of the wine. ועל ינם משום בנותיהם. And why is the wine not allowed? Because of the daughters. ועל בנותיהם. And why is the daughter not allowed? משום עבודה זרה. Because once you hang out with the daughters, you're going to start becoming idol worship. You'll marry them and then all the trouble is going to happen. In Yudchet, the last one, גזרו על תינוק גוי. They made a decree also of not just on the girl, on a girl baby of a non-Jew, also of a boy baby of a non-Jew. גזרו על תינוק גוי שיהיה מטמא כזב, that is going to be מטמא like כזב. Why? כדי שלא יהיה תינוק ישראל רגיל אצלו בעבירה, because you don't want them to play together, because it was known that the non-Jews used to have all kinds of relationship with each other. So it says, that's it. Everything is impure, that will make... And by the way, this is not something... They didn't even need to explain. It makes you impure, and that's it. So automatically, they wouldn't play together. Right. That was the idea. הקטנו במשנתנו את הגרסה ואלו מן ההלכות. It says in the Mishnah, and these are the laws, כגרסת רש"י. This is what Rashi says, ורוב מפרשי המשנה, and most of the commentaries of Mishnah, שכן בגמרא, because in the Gemara it says, שאל אביה את רב יוסף, אביה asked רב יוסף, אלו שנינו או ואלו? It says, what does it mean? It says in our Mishnah, it says, ואלו מן ההלכות, and these. So it says, what do you mean ואלו? It says, אלו, these are the halachot. What's the vav? וגורס רש"י, ואלו. And Rashi says, ve'elu. It says ve'elu. It says there's two, it looks like they had two opinions. One says elu and one says ve'elu. Rashi says it is ve'elu. In other words, why does Rashi says ve? To tell you all the laws that are mentioned in the previous Mishnah with the candle, these are them. Or elu. תנן דבין למעלה כמן, הלכות נשנות להלן. Or maybe it's talking about, if it says elu, it doesn't refer to the previous one, it refers to the coming up ones. ופשט רב יוסף מברייתא, רב יוסף learned from a ברייתא, שוואלו תנן, it is ואלו. In other words, it connects it to the previous Mishnah. כלומר שהדברים מוסבים על ההלכות שנאמרו למעלה. It doesn't go forward, it goes backwards.
פרשת השבוע.
That's right. כמו שבארנו. אבל נראה שהגרסה הישנה הייתה אלו, but it looks like in the beginning it used to say אלו. הני דאמרינן או ואלו. תנן דבאימן למעלה כמן. אוקיי. וכן הגרסה בפירושו של רבנו נחננאל, this is also the way it was written in רבנו נחננאל, ואומנם גרסה זו נראית יותר. שכן תיבת ואלו, it looks like ואלו is more accurate. בכל המשנה אינה מוסבת אלא למאמר הבא אחריה. it says, oh, but that's kind of problematic. Usually, ve'elu comes on the future. Also, over here, ve'elu, you're saying it's on the past. אבל אלו בלא וו מוסבע פעמים על מה שנשנה לפניה. But it says like, it looks like אלו it should say, because אלו goes on the past. Okay. כגון אלו כדברי בית הלל. For example, it says, all these אלו are like the words of בית הלל. The אלו refers to the past, and ואלו should refer to the future. All this discussion, are we referring to the past, referring to the future? על אלו מומים שוחטים את הבכורות, on these blemishes you slaughter the firstborn. עיין תוספת בסוגייתנו, שמביאים ראייה לגרסת רש"י מהמדרש, to bring a proof from Rashi from the Midrash. כל מקום שנאמר ואלה, every place it says ואלה, מוסיף על הראשונים. So it says, what does ואלה mean? So now, here's another explanation. ואלה means it says, whatever we learned previously, and here are more.
Like our parasha, this is exactly ואלה.
Yeah, in our parasha.
כן.
ואלה המשפטים.
כן.
Everything we learned before and these are more.
בדיוק.
פסל את הראשונים. אלה, what does אלה means? פסל את הראשונים. אלה means that it's not the previous one. אבל הרי מקשה על המדרש, הרי כתוב, אלה דברי הברית ומוסב על כל מה שלמעלה. And the Ri says, no, sometimes I can find אלה that it does not nullify the first ones, it includes the first one. Again, it's all discussion. Is it אלה ואלה? For our discussion, the easiest way to learn it, it explains the previous Mishnah and adds more. That's the easiest way. מה ששנינו, the thing that we said, ו-18 דברים גזרו ביום, and 18 things they decreed on that day, ביארנו לפי הברטנורה. All this explanation was according to ברטנורה. שהכוונה ל-18 דברים המפורטים בגמרא. These are the 18 things that is mentioned in the Gemara. שהם כוללים גם שתי ההלכות שנראו משנה קודמת. It includes the two laws that are in the previous Mishnah. But it depends now how you say אלה ואלה. If it's not included now, where are the 18? That's going to be the question. So you need two more. לא יפלה ולא יקרא לאור הנר. Not going to take the lights out and not to read by the light of the candle. אבל הרמב"ם מפרש על פי הגמרא ש18 דבר גזרו. The Rambam says, according to the Gemara, there are 18 things that they decreed. וב18 דבר נחלקו. And in 18 things they had a disagreement. וב18 דבר הושבו. And in 18 things they were equal. In other words, according to the Rambam, it's not just 18. It's 18 times 3. That says, in 18 things they made a decrease, in 18 things they agreed, and in 18 things they had disagreements. וכך פירושה של משנתנו לפי הרמב"ם. And this is the way the Rambam explained it. ואלו מן ההלכות שאמרו בעליית חנניה בחזקיה. These are the laws that were said in the ethic of חנניה בן חזקיה. היינו, ההלכון ששנינו מתחילה מסכתנו, עד לא יאכל הזב עם הזבה. All the laws that we started from the beginning of the Masechet until not eat the zav with the zava, not eat the guy who had an emanation, white emanation, with the lady who had red emanation, שבמשנה הקודמת, that in the previous Mishnah, if you count all of them, there are 18. שהם בין כולם 18 הלכות. That those are the 18 הלכות. במשנה א' 8 הלכות, in the Mishnah א' we learned 18 הלכות. 8 מיני יציאות השבת. What are the 18? 8 types of going out of Shabbat. שההלכה בהם פטור אבל אסור. That the law is פטור, not obligated penalty, but you're forbidden to do it. במשנה ב' 5 הלכות. In the Mishnah ב' we have 5 laws. לא יושב לפני הספר, the barber war, לא יכנס למרחץ, not allowed to go into the bath house, לא לבוסקי, not to the tannery, לא לאכול, not to eat, לא לדין, not to judgment. And in משנה ג' another 5 הלכות. So we have in משנה ג' another 5 הלכות, לא יצא החייט ממחתו, the tailor should not go out close to darkness, לא הלבלר בקלמוסו, nor the rider, the סופר, לא יפלה את כליו לאור הנר, and then the two with the candle, לא יקרא לאור הנר, לא יאכל הזב עם הזבה, not eat the זב עם הזבה. So these are the 18 things, and ו18 דברים גזרו בו ביום, and 18 things they decreed in that day, והם אינם נמנים במשנה, and they are not enumerated in the Mishnah.
So he's talking about the past.
The past, the 18
not
things.
about what we learned.
That's right. In other words, we said the 18 things are these 18 things. He says, no, you don't
We said
understand.
different
The 18 things are what we learned already. Those are the 18 things. אלא נתפרשו בגמרא, כפי שהבאנו אותו בביאור משנה. So he has to come with 18 other things. Yeah? ברם הרמב"ם אינו מונו בתוך אלה את ההלכות, אין פולים ואין קוראים את הנר. But he doesn't count these two because these two already were counted. So he needs to count another two somewhere else he needs to find. וכן אינו מונה בעניין בנות כותים ותינוק גוי אלא גזרה אחת. And he puts the babies are in one. It doesn't separate between male and female. ובמקום אלו הוא מונה את הגזרות שגזרו על פת נוכרים ועל שמנם ועל ינם ועל ייחוד בנותיהם כארבע גזרות. Instead of them, he counts, when we said about the oil and the bread and the wine of the non-Jews, he counts it as 4 instead of 1. Yeah,
the girls.
That's all considered girls, that's right. That's all considered. In other words, we consider them all 1. He considered them 4. ומלבד אלו נחלקו עוד על 18 דברים. And besides that, there's more disagreements on 18 other things. 13 מפורשים בפרקנו משנה ה'. When we get to Mishnah A, we're going to learn about it. עד משנה ח', until משנה ח'. The Mishnah A and Mishnah Chet is got everything if your vessels are allowed to do work on Shabbat. That's what we're going to be discussed from Mishnah A to Mishnah Chet. ועוד 5 מפורטים בברייתא, according to the Rambam, he needs 5 more. This you're going to find out in the ברייתא. לא ימכור לנוכרי ולא ישילנו ולא ילבנו ולא יתנו מתנה, אלא כדי שיגיע לביתו. We're going to learn this. You're not allowed to give to a non-Jew a product, even if he buys to you Erev Shabbat, if he doesn't have enough time to get to his house before Shabbat. And that we're going to learn soon. ולא ישלח איגרות ביד נוכרי. You can also not, if the postman comes over to you, right before Shabbos, you're not allowed to, UPS driver, you're not allowed to give him a UPS package just before. We're going to learn the Mishnah when we get there. ויש מפרשים שלא הוזכרו 18 דברים אלא פעמיים. There are those who says that the 18 things were mentioned twice. אלה שנשנו בשלוש המשנה הראשונות של מחסרתנו, those that are mentioned in the first 3 Mishnahs of the tractate, שנחלקו בהם בית שמאי ובית הלל, ולמחרתו הושבו, ועל כך שנינו. There are the things that they had a disagreement between בית שמאי and בית הלל, and the next day they talked about the things that were equal. ואלו מן ההלכות שנאמר ביד חנניה בחנן הזכה, אלה שגזרו ביום פרטום בגמרא. So there's many ways how to count the 18, which 18 is many things, but we learned according to Bartenura the easy way, and that's the way we're going to think. For your question, we're going to deal with it, I think, maybe even tomorrow. So that's why I'm not going to discuss it with it now. But it looks like to give to UPS driver a package might be problematic. If it's problematic for us, we're going to see why yes, why not. Actually, for us, just for you be calm, it's not problematic because the goy is not working for you. He's working as an independent contractor. And when he's working as an independent contractor, you're fine. He's doing the job for him, not for you. That's why it's allowed. But if it's a worker that you have, for example, in your store, let's say you have a store, and your worker is leaving home, and you're going to put things in his car, you're going to help him put things in his car, and you know he's going to get car after Shabbos, and he's working for you, it's a problem. And we're going to discuss it tomorrow, and we're going to see.